everybody, and welcome to the Code Clarity podcast. I'm Rina.
And I'm Jean. We had two VAs last month published. That's quite a lot in 1 month. Was there anything interesting about them?
So just to explain to the audience, a VA is a voluntary admission that a pharma company makes, a bit like a confession that they're making to the PMCPA to let them know that they have breached the code. I would say that both of those VAs were around process failures. One of them was quite interesting, and it was made by Pierre Fabre UK because a publisher who was engaged by Pierre Fabre Global was specifically told, don't send this email to UK HCPs. And what do you think they did, Jean?
Sent it to the UK HCPs, Rina?
There we go. But it wasn't that Global said anything or did anything, but actually the UK put this voluntary admission in to the PMCPA, and they got a lot of breaches as a result.
Okay. And we did a poll in our case awareness about whether people thought that they should have put in the VA or not. And this is not about whether VAs in general. This was in this particular case when it was the US company with a US activity and a US agency. Was that really the UK's fault that something went wrong with that? That was basically what we're saying. Should there have been a VA there, or should there be handled in a different way? And 3/4 of people on our case awareness surgery basically said, no, in this particular case, they wouldn't have done a VA, voluntary admission, and the majority of them said that they probably would have just been dealt with through the normal corrective and preventative action, the deviation process, whatever process the company calls it, for noting that something's went wrong and putting things in place to try and prevent it again.
And we're often asked about our opinion, as to whether a company should do a VA or not. And I think it's this piece that you mentioned, Jean, already, that context is important. But if we were to generalize it and step away from the Pierre Fabre case, generally there are 2 times when we would recommend doing a VA. The first one may well be if the issue at hand is already known to the PMCPA. For example, you've been doing an investigation whilst responding to another complaint and you found a shed load of issues, and the PMCPA are aware of that. They're going to be expecting a voluntary admission. It may well be that you're under PMCPA audit and the PMCPA have come across stuff. They won't take it up as a complaint, but there may well be some pressure on you as a company to let them know through a VA. What's the second reason?
I'd say the second one was if it was a patient safety issue, because again, that's your big critical thing for responsibility and what we're all trying to protect. So I think if it's a patient safety issue and that's been deemed in, I think that would be another time that you would do a proactive voluntary admission. And I guess what we're saying is that how should you make that decision to do a VA? Should it just be a panic decision on the day, or is there a way of managing voluntary admissions and when they should be done?
That's a good question. I think, calm needs to prevail. So we don't want panic, but we also got to remember, pharma companies should be democracies. It shouldn't be ultimately the decision of one important person, because that medical director or GM, they could be changing over every 2 to 3 years. We need something a bit more solid and a bit more consistent. So our suggestion would be something like criteria based on what we've just discussed here. Is it a patient safety issue? Do the PMCPA know about it? Are we unable to correct and prevent it? Has self-regulation failed for us? And if we meet all these criteria, then do a VA. That's what my suggestion would be.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Rina.
Thank you, Jean. Bye.
Bye.